fact. That was.
No more room in hell. The dead will walk here.
We all cheer for big bottles of beer. Happy New Year 2023. It's us, the three corners of horror minus one. Joe is on assignment today. He'll be back next week. I'm with my boy JR. What up, son? Holla at your boy, sir.
An interesting movie that, like we were talking about earlier, flew under the radar. Came out towards the end of the year 2022. And it's funny because it's ironic how I talked about old people being killers in the movie, yet this movie is what we got again. Old people on a rampage.
People. What are we talking about today? We are talking about the Netflix original film, Old People. Yes, if you're afraid of the elderly, this might not be the film for you. But if you feel sympathetic towards them, you might cast them in a different light here. So get ready for that. JR, tell me, brother. Again, like I said, I was hooked from the beginning. Now, the first 10 minutes of this film, and bro, let's chat me up, brother. Your thoughts, because I got a lot to say about this opening, but I'm gonna let you do the honors first, my friend.
Well, it started out good. I mean, for me, one of the things I'm going to talk about throughout this film is the lighting. The lighting. It's just the way the movie was filmed. Cinematography was massive in this film. But we get the opening segment of a visiting nurse visiting one of the patients called Mr. Raynick. And I'll let Rick probably get into the whole what happens between her and Mr. Raynick. But one of the scenes that's so captivating in this film is after Mr. Raynick does what Rick will explain, is he looks out the window, he starts sobbing. And then his sob turns into this moan.
Yeah.
And this moan is, once again, it's key to this film because it's something that lingers and lets you know that there's something still out there, no matter where you are. Mm-hmm. But it scans through the whole city. And the fact that, I mean, we've seen so many movies that have, like zombies and stuff, or post-apocalyptic, or on the verge of apocalyptic, where you see just a city in ruins. This one took its time. You had smoke cloud here, smoke cloud there, burning building here, and then you get this perfect narration that gives you the foreshadowing of this film, where you have this teenage girl saying how right before the first attacks, when people first getting killed, we were in class talking about how our society is drastically aging. How basically there's going to be intergenerational conflicts are going to escalate. The social system is going to collapse. And just the fact that here we are talking about old people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because the fact that you said this, the society collapsing and this whole generation being washed out, making way for this younger generation with their own sort of rules, that's scary.
It is.
That's scary, man. And I never thought about that until I saw this film. And the opening, I mean, they do hit you over the head with it a little too much sometimes, as far as what they're going for, as far as the all the metaphors and stuff, like what they're trying to portray in film, the message they're trying to send essentially. But we don't get to see this side much. Like, everything's going younger now. And the fact that this film they didn't just take the elderly and make them villains. They took them and made them sympathetic, and we understand why. But brings up more questions because, again, in the first 10 minutes, there's that little crawl with that passage talking about all of the old people and what they're saying. Exactly, what is it like? It's a cursed spirit that's angry and only takes over like frail people of that. This is going back. They called it a tribe because it went back. So it's an angry spirit essentially taking over people, but they look for the frailest of the frailest. And in this case, who's the frailest? Is the elderly. So again, we'll get into that later because that's fascinating. And I kind of wish the movie touched upon that more because that's such a fascinating layer added to this film that you don't really see touched upon in films that are coming out now. So
Yeah.
again, you mentioned it before. This film came out at the wrong time because this went under the radar as far as the subject matter. Now, a film as a whole we'll get into, but what the message they're trying to convey, even though they did, like I said, it hit you over the head a bit too hard on it, but it feels fresh. And to
Yes.
go back to the original question I gave you, the first 10 minutes of this film, like immediately when you got the the funny part about it, within the first like minute of this film when it actually got started, the the first dialogue scenes, a girl talking about like a foot fetish or whatever.
Yes.
That's like the first line about it. I don't like feet, whatever. But which is funny because later on in the film, when your boy back there, the old man, takes off his socks, his feet are fucking trash, son. His feet are gross. You see that shit?
Oh hell yeah, man.
Oh, fucking like Rick Grimes from The Walking Dead. That's what his feet look like. But I digress. The sadness of the old people, the elderly. I mean, the guy was the first thing he said was "Help me, help me." He
Yes.
needed help. And one thing I will say, when he smashed her over the head with the fire extinguisher, that's what it was, right?
It was it was his air tank.
Yeah. Oh my God, this hair tank. Jesus Christ. So
His oxygen tank.
So one thing I will say now, I'll throw this to you back to get your opinion on this. The violence in this film felt real. Like it didn't feel over the top. Like when these old people hit their victims, whether it's with a piece of glass or the oxygen tank, or my man took a piece of a steel. What like he
He's so
unscrewed
screwed the whole
the
thing.
top of the rod, right, of
Yes.
the fireplace, with it's just a steel ball essentially, puts it into his nasty ass grungy sock and uses it. Oh my God, like it feels real. I love it.
Yeah.
So that's all established within the first 10 minutes of this film before we meet the main characters, which I think that was a good job about that. So if you want to
Yes.
just add anything to what I had to say, go for it.
No, I mean that when Mr. Rainick attacked the visiting nurse, I didn't expect that. I mean, it was brutal because he hits
Again,
her
yeah.
once and then he goes over and just repeatedly hits her.
And not just that, when he hits her, she's on the floor twitching. Like it just feels real. Like I don't feel like a Hollywood movie. Like if you were to hit somebody, that's how they would react to it. They're not gonna die right away, depending on how you hit them, though.
Yeah.
But she was twitching, and he just went in and just went.
You know what it was? It wasn't like none of the kills were clumsy. They were all calculated.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
And I thought it was especially.
Well, it's funny you say that because it's calculated, but the way it was filmed at times, it was filmed clumsy because, again, these are not killers. They're old people that turn into killers. Again, this is one thing we got to discuss by the end of this video is what caused this, because they're kind of vague on it. They gave us so many different reasons what could have been, but we don't know what it was. So I think that's interesting. I don't mind either. I'll be transparent right now. I don't mind that they did not give us all the answers to this film, because what that does is it gives a couple of guys like us reason to discuss this.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Damn, brother. I just realized something. Is this the first time me and you were doing a video together?
It is, man.
I think so, man. What's up, son?
Chilling, man.
Perfect segue, GR. How about this? We talked about this already, but I want to get into this more right now. Maybe you could shed some light on this. Now, again, we talked about in the opening of the film, what was they were saying? An avenging spirit inhabited old people because they're frail, essentially, and it's a dark power that took control over the frailest members of the tribe. Tribe makes me think that this goes way back in time. This is a common occurrence that happens, but it gets swept under the radar. I don't know what it is, but again, in this film, they made it seem like it happened here, but it's happening all over the place at once. So, okay, is it secluded just to this place secluded to this hospital that was neglected? Or is it an actual entity that's taken over these old people because they're frail to drive them mad? Like, what say you?
Well, what I liked about it is that there was like little hints. Like you were saying, you had the opening passage in the beginning of the film. But then there's also another part of the film where I forgot her name, but the girl goes with the guy and they go on a boat and they go to this like almost like a remote island and they find this monument.
Oh, yeah.
And he starts explaining the monument. Yeah, this is the monument.
Alex and
I forgot her name.
Lauren? I don't know.
Yeah, he was like, well, this is a monument. It's it's to honor the elders, and those who don't honor the elders and respect the elders are basically given a curse.
Yep. If you break, what is it? Because the wife and husband separated,
Right.
that caused a break in the family, causing this curse. Is that do I got that right?
I think it is because remember when there was a scene where Kim, who we'll talk about later in the film,
Oh God, I hated her.
where she mentions something where everything was good, and when you showed up is when they started acting this way. So they gave you like a lot of different shots here and there.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like one of those. And what I liked about it is one, they weren't zombies.
No,
because they were still alive. They were still living. I mean, I don't know where they got all this energy to do this stuff, but I think that's what made it interesting because I really didn't care, to be honest, to get a deeper explanation of why they're acting like this. Because I don't mean me and you are fans of. We don't want to know.
I don't want to know everything. I've always said that, but you got to give us something at least.
Yes, and they give you that little hints.
They do. I think they give you enough, but yeah, I still want a little bit more because again, is it a curse? Is it just the people getting mad because they're neglected, just like the old man quotes later on? I'm pretty sure you'll get into that. So yeah, they gave us a lot of different reasons. We just got to pick which one makes the most sense.
I mean, I do think maybe like the mixture of what we're saying, was everyone cursed? Was the younger generation cursed for not respecting the elders?
Right.
I mean, think about this one scene where, once again, let's go back to the nursing home, where the family shows up there because they want to see their father.
Yeah, Ike, my boy Ike. Shout out to Ike.
And then they're all staring at them, and she's like, "Why are they all staring at me?" And Kim says, "Well, they're not used to seeing visitors because sometimes they get visitors, which is rarely, and sometimes they just don't get visitors at all."
Yeah.
So here you have basically the younger generation neglecting the elderly, which is once again ties into this possible curse. Yeah. I mean, the thing too I liked about it is what got me was we got Mr. Rainick in the beginning, right? In the city. But the nursing home, was it really in the city or was it near a village? Because
it was definitely not in the city.
Yeah, and I like that because you had this happening everywhere.
Don't forget they had the water because Alex at the end came in with that boat to rescue the survivors.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, maybe a little bit more, but I just like the vagueness of it because now.
Yes, thank you.
We could stay here and discuss. I mean, what do you think?
Very vague. I loved it. Vagueness. That's great. That's a great word to describe the storytelling in this film because we don't know. Now, some people, and I respect it, they may see it as a knock. Oh, I don't like that. That's understandable. But for me personally, I don't want all the answers all the time. I don't want to be spoon-fed everything. I don't mind getting 4 or 5 different scenarios where it could be because it allows us to discuss it way after the film's expiration date, after we had finished watching it. So it stays with you essentially, But yeah, I what I think, because again at the end of the film when they leave and once again we get the voiceover of the daughter telling that this happened here, but again it's sort of happening everywhere else too. So okay, it's a phenomenon. It ain't secluded to just this one nursing home. It is something, maybe a curse. Is it paranormal? Is it an avenging spirit? Something far worse? We don't know. I like that because this film, it is captivating. I'm gonna lie. It's not perfect. There's a lot of flaws in it, but what movie doesn't have flaws these days? Unless you like, a Quentin Tarantino film. I'm me, big George Romero fan. I live and breathe George's work. And this film, it didn't remind me of Night of the Living Dead because people will compare the zombies,
right?
Respectively so, especially in the beginning when the first nurse walks in and she's looking for what's his name again, Mr.
Rainick.
Rainick.
Yeah,
she's looking for him, and all you hear is him. The sound in this movie is fucking excellent, by the way. So when people would compare this to a zombie film, I understand. But to me, I saw this more as The Crazies. Now, if you haven't seen The Crazies, it's a George Romero film before before Dawn of the Dead. He made The Crazies. And again, it was remade later with Timothy Olyphant. The remake was awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
Check it out if you haven't seen it. So this is what it reminded me of. because there's scenes where there's old people, but they're not all crazy. There's some that just lurking around, they're walking, they're chewing on power lines, just doing random shit. And some, like the old motherfucker behind you, are killing motherfuckers. And people see that and they start killing people, but not like even Ike, the granddad, he's not affected by whatever's going on, obviously. So
Right.
again, that comes to show that's not everyone's affected by this. Because like I said, there's other elderlies you see in the back, they're not doing anything. Some are lost or confused. Like that poor guy who kept looking for his daughter.
Yes.
And then he got fucked up by Lucas, the dad.
Yes.
I felt sorry for him. He wasn't trying to hurt nobody. He was just confused like an old elderly person. But now the problem is, and this comes back at the end, the younger generation don't trust the elderly anymore because of this. So at the end, when Alex is trying to save Ike from, put them into the road, they got that slight hesitation, but then, okay, boom, he pulled them in. Trust. They used the word trust. So now they got to build that bond back together. But yeah, I think this film reminds me more of The Crazies, The Night of the Living Dead, because it's crazy people. They're not dead. They got rage, and they're just fucking shit up, man.
I thought he was crazy, but the bride, the one that dressed like the bride, she acted like his bride because he got dressed up. And then she got dressed up in the bride's outfit.
Yeah.
And when he was captured, that's when Ike told her, I know where he is. Like one scene I liked with him is when he broke into the house and Kim walked in on him and he's just like walking around and then there was a door that was partially open in the bottom. He just went like this. When he just started crawling in, I'm like, oh my God, that is so cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
Again, he was controlling them in a sense.
Yeah.
See, there's something going on. There's
something with him. But I think I'll talk about in the next portion.
The funny thing about it in my notes, I put this one old motherfucker was ruthless, man. Like,
he was awesome.
He fucked you up. And at the end of
cool.
the film, though, it came full circle. Not full circle, but when he was about to kill the daughter, and then Ike, the grandfather, took him out, but he hesitated because she started singing a song about her family, their family song. So she started almost rebuilding that bond that was broken by her family. Because once they split up, the curse began, essentially. Because I forgot the verbiage they used, man. I should have wrote it down, but yeah, they pretty much the family split up, and that just caused this curse. Essentially, I don't know. It's just weird because when you look at it that way, the way they act doesn't reflect that.
Well, remember this scene too. What Kim said is he was going to come attack Kim, and she said, "Look, I never hurt you. I never harm you.
They walked
if you
right
want to
by.
harm somebody, harm her."
Oh my God!
Which
what does she do? What does the daughter do? Nothing.
No, but it goes into what you're saying. How they probably stopped visiting the grandfather. They weren't there for him because Kim told the wife, "Listen, you never took care of him."
But that's the old man. That's not their family.
No,
so
but it was one of those things where I think it falls into the whole thing of.
Well, Kim worked there, so she knew them, and she took care of them. She took care of them. I mean, as much of a bitch she was in this film, one thing she did do, she was one of the last ones there. Well, and of course, you got the bully orderlies. I hate that. It's every time there's a horror film and there's like an old people home, there's always the bullies. The orderlies are made to look. If I was an orderly, I would be pissed because they're making me look bad in films. Like, come on, they're not all bad, right? I mean, well, this guy was a dick. That guy that got stabbed with glass.
Yeah.
They were listening to music and the guy shuts the window on him and sends them to sleep. Come on, fuck him. I'm glad he died. Old man. Good shit. Movie's fucking disgusting too, bro. Because when that old motherfucker hit the daughter, with that and he killed her husband. By the way, they just got married, and he's on her, and he's like, I don't know if he's like puking or something. He's like,
sounds coming out of his mouth.
Yeah, and it's falling into her mouth. Oh my God! And when he killed her, and Ella, the mother, found her. No, her sister. I'm sorry, that was her sister. The look on her, like the look on her face, the way she was all disfigured and just like,
But he propped her up.
He did.
Because remember, he hit her. She went down the steps, and then he went down there and brought her back upstairs.
When he hit her, she fell down. Like, oh my God, that scene was so brutal. Why? Of course, we've seen stuff like that before. We've seen stuff worse than that. But the fact that the way this was shot, they shot it so real. I mean, when he swung, it wasn't real. That shit looked like it's extended like fucking 4 feet. But the impact, though, Felt
Yes.
real. Oh, bro, good shit. That looked like it hurt.
Reminded me of Michael Myers going down the steps because he took his time going down those steps.
He did.
Like, look
I
at
love
Michael.
that scene you mentioned when the old man walks in and he's slowly walking in on him, looking around. I thought he was taking off his shoes so he don't make noise when he walks up. But when he took his sock off, like I mentioned before, and he put the little steel ball in there, I was like, oh, this guy is gonna fuck shit up, bro.
Made me
'Cause
wonder if that was his home. I think he lived there. He must have, because for some reason
he knew the
it just
layout.
felt like, yeah, he knew it
Yeah,
too well.
he knew the, yeah. I mean, again, there was an axe there.
Yeah, so he walked
He
right.
could have grabbed it. He walked right. He felt it, but he walked right. But what the fuck? But
I thought he was gonna grab it.
He went
I
more.
thought he was
went
gonna
more
grab
subtle.
it, man.
Yeah, of course, not, man. If that was Michael Myers, he would have grabbed that shit.
He was like, it's just too easy. So I'm not gonna go Jason. I'm gonna go something different. Grab the freaking ball,
And
and
that's
then
cool.
took his time. That seems fucking
I respect
awesome.
that.
I'll be honest. I don't got many cons in this film. I think this is one of these films that you just enjoy, that you overlook all the cons, because there's such a message here about the fact that, this film is, let's be honest, it's about just the new generation thinking they know more than the older generation, and the older generation feeling forgotten and being frustrated because the older generation are being cast aside, put to the side. Because even the old man says this quote, like when he gets captured, you
They got him tied up.
yeah,
for
you haven't
context,
seen what
apparently.
I've seen, what we've seen,
Yes.
and you know nothing. That's where he goes. The good ass quote: "I'd rather die than live like an animal."
Yeah.
Because when you looked at that home, you felt like they all lived like animals.
Yeah.
And the scene you were talking about with the orderly picking on them, that was the wedding that was next door. As they're listening to the music, he's like, "Oh, it's time for bed. Oh, you enjoying the music? Oh, too bad you didn't get invited."
Yeah.
And then he turns around and the woman becomes like the bride.
Yep.
She's like, just let us stay a little longer. And then he basically puts his hands on her. She pushes back, and that's when this dude gets up and like, that's when it started. The minute he touched her, he was like, all right. But it is a message about basically the new generation thinking they know more than the older generation, which unfortunately we see in our society now
Yeah.
with this young generation. And I like the fact that they were able to turn this into a movie, to the point where now you have these older generation like, we're gonna fight back, because we're not gonna, if we're gonna be treated like disrespectful and act like we're animals, well, we're gonna act like animals and basically go after you.
They got nothing left to lose.
And one thing I liked about this film too is they could have just went the route they went, but the fact that you added another villain in Kim into this film, what the decision she makes, which I don't care, I liked, because it just added more, a lot more to this film. Because here you have the person who actually took care of these elderly, feeling like she's being overlooked, she's being forgotten. She's like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna use them against you. But yeah, this movie, there was
she told Lucas, that's your daughter, not mine, or something like that. It's not my daughter. Like, come on, that's fucked up.
And the scene where she goes, well, why's the door open? When the mother comes, why's the door open? She's like, I'm sorry. It hits her, knocks her out, man, and then takes her outside.
Yeah. I mean, she gave her Lucas. Were they married yet?
They weren't married. She wanted them.
They were all right. She gave Lucas her fiance or whatever he was, a boyfriend, whatever. She said to him, "If you love me, show me by staying inside." I'm like, I will like, yo. First of all, that's my ex-wife out there, and that's the mother to my children. Come on, that's all he had to say. What kind of selfish person would say something like that? How can you give someone an ultimatum like that? One thing I will say, man, there was one line in this film that I just lost my shit. I forgot who said it. Maybe you could remember. I think it was the younger cast members. They were like, they looked outside. There's old people everywhere.
Yeah, it was the daughter. It was the daughter.
What? You think about that. There's old people everywhere. Like, that's a bad thing,
This movie does have some flaws. I mean, we've seen it, but I'm still gonna rate this a 4 because it is a fun, entertaining film. I wanted to rate it higher, but like you said, there were a couple lulls in here. I do love the whole metaphor of the film. It is very interesting, and I like the way they did it. Like I said, I like the fact that they didn't go the zombie route, the fact that they were still alive, and the twist at the end too was the mother got killed, and it was his 2 young grandkids who saved the grandfather.
Well, the parents got killed essentially.
Yeah, so
Both
basically the adults got killed. So
Yeah.
now you had the younger generation
Saved by the old guy.
saved by the old guy, and then they take the old guy, who that's what he wanted the whole time, is basically to remember, be taken care of.
Good
So-
shot. Good shot. The film antagonists are all old, but the main protagonist at the end was again an old guy. So
Yeah,
good shot, brother.
definitely a good film. It's fun watch. Definitely watch it. Just go in and watch it. Don't go nitpicking right off the bat. Just go and watch it the first time. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I give it a 4.
Yeah, I will go with a 3.5. Again, not because anything bad, but because it's a lot of familiar themes in it I've seen before. I can't go any higher because of that. But if you, like Jared said, if you want a film to watch, don't go in with expectations. Just watch it.
Yes.
You might find that, I've been there, but see, I love film, man. And if a film captivates me with visuals and presentation, and as long as the acting is good, I don't need an original like screenplay. You know, I've seen The Crazies. I've seen 28 Days Later. I've seen plenty of films with people turning into raging maniacs. But the way this was done, it was more sympathetic. It was somber. Like, you didn't hate the old people. You felt bad for them, but you didn't want them killing people at the same time. And the violence in this film felt very chaotic and erratic. It did not feel choreographed whatsoever. If somebody like me, you got into a fight with somebody, that's what it would look like. You know what I'm saying? So I dug that a lot, man. Yeah, so that's going to be my final score. And again, not because it's a bad film, because I think, I just think I've seen it before, but this is a bit of a fresh coat of paint, and I love the bleakness of this film. Like, if you want to be in a happy space, avoid this film. But if you want to be thrusted into this other world where it's bleak, it's dark, it's damp, it's raining, and old people are fucking you up, then check it out, man. When are you gonna say that, right, JR?
Oh yeah, old people, Joe. Old people.
Old motherfuckers. Well, that's gonna do it for 3 Corners of Horror. Happy New Year once again. This is your first video of 2023. Come back next week for more action. Please subscribe if you want more reviews like this, plus more Horror Fiend TV. I'm Ricky Grimes. That's the boss, JR. With that being said, watch horror movies and stay scared.